So I want to share with you 9 tips for finding businesses that you can buy. Now we don't go down the typical routes of looking for businesses for sale. So these are my 9 tips for finding businesses. The first one, and you've heard me say this before, don't use brokers. Brokers will turn you into a busy fool with overvalued businesses that have unfair expectations around what they're expecting for their deal. The second one, think of it as a marketing campaign. So when you're out pitching for deals, it's kind of like a sales process, and finding those deals is kind of like marketing. So anything that you would do as a marketing exercise to get customers for your company would probably work to find businesses that you can go and acquire. So just think of it as a marketing campaign and start to treat it in that way. The third one, go straight to the owners and start to build rapport and a relationship with those owners. So any environment where you're going to come across business owners directly or have the opportunity to speak to them is a great way of helping you find deals. And all of the deals that you will do will be born out of rapport. They'll be born out of a good relationship with those people. So invest the time in getting to know them and understand their motivations and drivers and just about them as a person, so that you can really help to solve their problems and end up getting a deal out of the other side of it. So number 4 is some industries are just easier. You know, if you find that you're banging your head against a brick wall down a particular industry path, then maybe switch to a slightly different industry. And it might be switching to something that's affiliated to or close to what you're doing. Maybe it has the same type of clientele, so that you can still grow your client base, but maybe in a slightly different way. Sometimes what you'll find is that a particular industry already has a player who's heavily actively consolidating, trying to buy up all the other players. And basically they've just made everybody numb to the approach that you're going to make to them, because they've just been bombarded constantly by people that are looking to acquire them. So like I said, I would just pivot to something a little bit tangential. Maybe look at a vertical integration, which is where you acquire up or down the supply chain of the business as an alternative. So then number 5, be sincere and honest. You know, I think too many people try and hide behind a fake identity or try and pretend they're something they're not. Everybody has to do their first deal, and I don't think it actually puts business owners off that they might be dealing with a novice. You can even explain that you're feeling a little bit out of your depth, but this is something you really want to do, and work with them collaboratively on finding a way to achieve it. I don't think there's any harm in just being who you are. I don't think you'll lose any deals over it. In fact, quite the contrary. I think people will find it refreshing to have a sincere and honest conversation with someone. Number 6, I often find it's a great way of opening doors is by positioning as an investor. So people always struggle to answer that question, what do you do? And there's lots of different ways you could answer it. But by positioning as an investor, you tend to find you open the doors to a lot more conversations, particularly, you know, finding distressed companies where they'll be looking for investment because they're trying to fill a leaking bucket with more water. Of course, you wouldn't invest money into a distressed business, but you might find another way of solving their particular problem. So positioning in that way in the first place, it's great when you go to a networking meeting. If you go to a networking meeting and say you're an investor, you'll get everybody's business card. You'll be the most popular person in the room. So it's a great way to position yourself. Number 7, you need to get used to your pitch. So when you first start doing this, it's really difficult. You find yourself getting caught out with people asking strange questions that you haven't heard before, and you have to figure out which of these different rabbit holes you go down when it comes to describing what you're doing and what you're looking for. So I always advise going out and doing a load of networking, or even just going through your phone and ringing up people you haven't spoken to for a while, and just position this idea with them. Get used to talking about it, get used to answering the most common questions, and then when you find yourself in a kind of live fire environment, you'll find it's much easier to cope with and convert any opportunity that kind of comes your way. Number 8, make sure that whatever you're going out into the world and talking about, that your social media profile backs that up. So, you know, you are what Google says you are. So what does that say about you? What's on your LinkedIn profile? What's on your Twitter profile? What's on your Instagram account? Because anyone that you're doing business with is likely to look you up and try and find out as much information as they can about you. And social media is the easiest thing to rank highly under your name. So make sure that when they do come across you, that it actually says that you do the kind of things that you say that you're doing, and not something completely unrelated. And then finally, the key to sourcing businesses, number 9, is consistency. It's about creating a habit of sourcing, and it's about doing it on a regular basis so that you create a pipeline of opportunities that will gradually start to trickle through and bear fruit over time. Now, I always use this the diet analogy, which is you don't get fat from one pizza, but you don't get thin from one salad. So it's about creating this consistent behavior over a long period of time that will then generate consistent results. And I see this really often through the Harbour Club, where you have some people who peak and trough, so they have a real spike of activity and then they tail off, and those that just take those consistent steps forward on a daily basis. And the people taking those consistent steps forward always outperform. It's the hare and the tortoise type of scenario. You don't need to take massive action, you just need to take action consistently. So I hope you found those tips helpful, and I hope you use them to find yourself some great deals out there.